warm welcome to Podcast for Business with me, Steve Twynham. Podcast for Business is all about helping businesses to share knowledge, expertise, details of workshops, events and seminars with the wider business community. Today's podcast is brought to you in partnership with Network B2B. If you'd like to business network in a structured and relaxed environment with groups across the UK, Network B2B is well worth a visit. If you'd like more information, check out networkb2b.co.uk. Now, you may have heard the term core values, but what are they and how do you actually work out what your core values actually are? Well, coming next on the Podcast for Business, I'm joined by Tim Brownson. Now, Tim is the author of many books, but his latest book is called The Clarity Method. Tim joins me on the line from Florida next in this Podcast for Business.
Like to share news about your business, event, seminar or workshop? Simply email steve@stevetwynham.com.
So imagine 14 years as a life coach with your work seen by over 5 million people, author of 9 books and over 2,000 self-development articles. Just imagine that. Where does he find the time? I'm joined on the line from Florida by Tim Brownson. How are you, Tim?
I'm fantastic, thanks, Steve.
Thanks for joining us. What an intro, eh?
Yeah, I don't know where it's gone. You know, everybody says, I'm starting to turn into my dad saying that the time goes so quickly, but yeah, it's 14 years at this game. It's
14 years. And what I love, Tim, when I was just looking at some of your stuff, I love this thing where it's got to be fun, hasn't it? Working with you has got to be fun.
Yeah, I just, if I do a consult with a potential client and I make a joke or something and it goes sort of deadly quiet, I'm like, okay, we're not going to be a good fit. I can't be walking on eggshells for the next 6 months or whatever how long we work together. So yeah, I take my job seriously, but when I have fun doing it, that's part of the reason why I work for myself, so I can do that.
That's important. Now you're over in Florida, so yeah. but you were initially from the UK.
Yeah.
And you also trained as a hypnotherapist and NLP practitioner, so you've got a few strings to your bow.
Yeah. The hypnotherapy, I did it more for the language element of hypnotherapy. Mm-hmm. It's very good in terms of something called artfully vague language. And NLP as well. So, you know, there's the more flashbang stuff of the neuro side, which is the rapid change. But I'm more into the linguistics, how can we use language to, I was going to say influence people. That can sound somewhat manipulative, but it isn't. But it influence people, but also allow them to use language to influence themselves so that the quality of life is better. Because everything comes down to the conversations we're having inside our own head. Yeah,
that wonderful self-talk that goes on.
Absolutely, yeah. We have to talk we never accept from anybody else, but we're quite happy to find others.
Well, we sabotage our own success, don't we? Eh?
Absolutely, yeah.
Been there on many times. But hey, we're here to talk about your new book. Yes, the Clarity Method.
Yeah.
Now, I hear this a lot when I'm out and about. I do a lot of networking, do a lot of events, and I hear lots of business coaches out there talking about you must get clarity.
Yeah, I mean, it's the starting point. Well, I think it's, so the book is obviously, it's about core values. So when I started to notice, Steve, certainly in my very early days, that people would come to me with big goals. I had one guy that came to me one time with a goal to earn $3 billion. And, the goal itself doesn't really tell you much because you've got to get under that. You've got to understand, well, what are the values that are driving that? And when you understand what your own values are, that kind of gives you clarity about things like, okay, well, that's why that didn't work. That's why I don't get on with that person. So for me, it was very much, when I knew this, I didn't know at the time, so integrity is super important to me. And working in the sales industry for 20 years, right up to, big ticket C-level sales, there isn't a fat lot of integrity. You can possibly work with integrity yourself as a salesperson, but the company's there, they're just generating profit machines. That's all it is. So it's kind of easy for me to look back and think, okay, well, that's why I never felt fully comfortable in sales. It wasn't, it was just as an industry, it just kind of doesn't work for me. So I think that's what I mean by clarity, understanding what's going to motivate you and drive you, basically.
And Tim, when you're working with people, do some people struggle with with clarity a bit? Do they just...
Yeah, I think most people do. I think when I first started coaching over my website, I really focused on getting them stuck. People being stuck in, whether that's a relationship or whether that's in the job that you don't want to do, maybe want to start their own business. But once you've got clarity, once you can see the path, then there's nothing that's going to keep you. Well, I wouldn't say nothing, but you're likely to unstick yourself. So it all starts with having that vision or that understanding of yourself and what's going to make you happy at a deeper level, rather than just that I need more money. Well, yeah, of course, everybody needs more money. Well, not everybody, but you know what I mean. So that's the deal with the clarity.
Do people often come out with that, Tim? Like, well, one of my values is money, but money's not really a value, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, if I give you $1 million, I'm not going to, Steve, but if I was,
oh please,
but if you can't spend it, or you can't invest it, or you can't give it away to a charity, you can't do anything with it, you just go look at it, then you wouldn't want it. It's just a bunch of paper or cotton or whatever. So no, money's. I won't accept that from a client that it's a value, because it's well, what does that money give you? Maybe it's a significance. Maybe it's the ability to give back. So it's more philanthropic. So we kind of want it, but it's always, money's always a means to an end of what that allows us to do, what the freedom it gives us to do that if we've got spare cash.
Great. And are they, in terms of values, are they, because I was reading the book and I've got fair through the book, and there's lists of some values you give. Now, what's the other phrase you've got? I want to call it a negative value, but that's not the right word that you...
Yeah, I call it an anti-value.
That's it, yeah.
So these are things that really drive, the things that, and anti-values are a little bit more difficult to get your head around, because they can be traits you see in yourself or other people, or they can be more conceptual, more nebulous than that. Just this, so certain words that we do. So for me, my number one anti-value is hate. I don't even like the word. I'm happy to use it for mosquitoes and bananas, but I don't like people because it's got that like onomatopoeic sound to it. Hate, it almost, you have to spew it. So so for me that is a significant anti-value. So let's suppose you got an anti-value of fear, then you probably shouldn't really be signing up for the army and getting sent to Afghanistan.
Right.
So it's kind of being aware of when you can't square the circle. Something, every now and then we need to deal with anti-values, just like we can't always be aligned with our core values. But it's having that understanding of, okay, this is the reason. It's just an anti-value. It's just a core value.
Okay. And I think there's that lovely story in your book where I've got to share this because it tickled me pink when you were talking about this. You were working with a client and they started to put their values and you were writing them on the board. Mm-hmm. They started laughing.
Yeah.
You started laughing and you wondered whether they were laughing at your writing.
Yeah.
And that guy made a change quite dramatically, didn't he? Well,
I mean, that was just remarkable. And that was fairly early on. That's going to be 10 years ago now. So he was a face-to-face client. I'm not sure if I shifted some stuff about. I said he was an attorney. He was an attorney. And he'd been pushing to get to a partner. And anybody... Yeah, I'd read the John Grisham book, so I know all about the legal industry.
Yeah, of course you do.
But they have to work. They work insane hours, and his number one core value. I think it came out. His family was number one, freedom was number two. I think. And as I started to write them down, I can't remember. Maybe it was his anti-values. But anyway, as soon as he saw those, I think it was family freedom, and he started laughing. And like you said, I started laughing. I always do if somebody else. I just can't help myself. And I'm like, what are we laughing at? And he said, I don't really want to make partner, do I? And I said, what makes you say that? He said, well, look at my values. That's the antithesis of what I'm pushing towards. Because he wants to spend more time with his family and have the freedom to do that. So, I mean, that doesn't happen every time you do it, but it certainly happens regularly enough for it to be super exciting, super gratifying when you do it.
Okay. So, this area of work then, Tim, have you become to specialise in this value part of the work as a coach?
It's interesting you say that, Steve, because I'm kind of not working with traditional clients very much these days, because I work a lot with other coaches, but then also with the launch of the book, I do want to do more work on core values, because I like I've kind of prided myself over the years of working fast with clients, getting them in and getting them out, getting them unstuck and moving. And then there's a downside to that, is you have to generate a lot more clients and I've managed that, but it's a lot of work. So I've started working longer with other coaches. But on the value side of things, I want to do more, just one session, so that, I can go in there and work with the client for an hour to an hour and a half and really help them understand what's going on in their life with nothing else. And then they can coach themselves, so to speak. Not that I'm against long-term coaching. I'm not at all. It's with my personality, I prefer to move quickly.
And I'm going to come back to the values again in a minute. But so in terms of the work you do with other coaches, what's that around then?
I do a lot of online marketing, really. So I built both businesses up from the ground up. And SEO, search engine optimization, has been just a fascination of mine, something that I'm just naturally seem to be fairly good at it, although it involves reading on an almost daily basis because of the changes. So really helping coaches. There's a lot of people out there looking to work with coaches, Steve, but not many of them have actually done it themselves. They've not built a successful business and they don't know the pitfalls. They're just marketing guys, or they're just jumping into the coaching industry because there's so many coaches out there now that are struggling. So I think I'm kind of different in that I've done it and I can get in there and see straight away why people are either, most coaches are struggling. It's tough. Yeah,
it's a tough old world, isn't it? It's I think a lot of people, sometimes something's happened in their life and they suddenly decide I'll become a life coach.
Oh yeah. Well, but my friend Susan said I was a great listener, so I decided to become a life coach. It's like, well, I run a Facebook group. There's about 3,000 coaches in there. Don't allow any marketers in there. And every now and then, someone will come in and say, "I've just started my coaching business. Can you tell me how to get clients?" It's like, I've just opened a restaurant. Can you tell me how to cook food? I mean, it's like, no, you've got to treat this as a business. Too many people are treating it as, roll the dice, because there's not a low bar to entry. It's been stamped into the ground. If you get an internet connection and a phone, you can coach, theoretically. So, and that's just created a complete saturation in the industry, but it's saturated with a lot of people that really don't know what they're doing. And by the way, let me add this. I didn't when I started. See, for the first 3 years, I had no clue what I was doing. And then I decided, look, if I'm not going to have to go back into sales, I really need to understand online marketing, because I didn't want to do offline. So, but there were no resources around then. Now there's so much stuff for coaches.
So much stuff, yeah.
But get past the chat,
So Tim, let's just go back to the Clarity Method then, because I know this is audio, but we're on video at the minute as we're talking. And I've downloaded your sheets. Right. And I found it fascinating, actually, as you work through it. Now, people can download these sheets, can't they, from your website or from the book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a secret URL in the book.
That's it. And you can download that, and it's well worth doing it. And we won't go through it today, but you've got some great videos there that talk you through the method, haven't you?
Yeah, there's a video of me going through with a client, with a real life client, and then there's a video of me demonstrating how to use the metrics, because it can look a bit overwhelming for people at first, but it's actually quite easy to use when you get into it.
Yeah, once you get into it, I mean, I was started doing it with my, going through it. Right. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Don't do it with your wife. There's a story in the book where I did it with a husband and wife. The only time I've ever done it, Steve, and I changed it around. And I've got to be careful because he's local to me. He's in the same town as me. I don't. Basically, she had family at the top, and he had it like about 6 or 7, and she just went ballistic. I mean, she verbally abused him, and then she went over and physically abused him as I slid out the side door and said, "Okay, next time." I've never done it since. But the values don't work like that. Just because family isn't in my top 8 doesn't mean I don't love my family. And that's the thing, people think the stuff should be there. It should be in that order or these are good values. There's no such thing as good or bad values. There's no such thing as a correct order. It's down to every individual.
The individual choice, individual choice, sorry. Let me ask you this then, because coming back to that, the values again, I'd just like your view on this, because I met a guy once, and I actually said, he was having a bit of a difficult time, and I said, well, what about your values, right? And I'm interested in your take on this and how we drill this down, because this is what he came out with as his top 3 values, right? Money, Status.
Well, status is a value, actually. Status drives a lot of behaviour. That's why, people, even like little things like, playing words with friends with a friend of mine back in England. We've played about 2,000 games and we're only about 10 games apart. And still, if I lose, it's like, because your status drops. Yeah. There's a bit of a dopamine crash. So it's important as we evolve. Well, car and money. No, you've got an interesting individual. I'm not sure where I'd go with it.
Yeah. It's an exciting one or a challenging one.
Challenging, there you go.
Yeah, and he actually did change his job, and he told me that he'd never been happier in the new job. He then said, money's crap and the car's crap. But I went, wait a minute, you've never been happier.
Good for him.
Yeah.
That's a bit of waiting for, I would have thought.
Yeah. just a bit. So
I'm sure we never wait till the job, but good. I mean, it's great when that. Steve, not last year, the year before, that was the first year that I'd earned more coaching than in my last year in sales, 10 years before.
Wow. Right.
But I didn't care. We've not got kids. My wife's a doctor. It's just, I'm doing this because I love it. And if you said to me, Tim, I want to hire you and we're going to work at 10 o'clock in Florida time every morning, I'm like, no, that's when I take my dogs out. You're going to have to find a coach, or we're going to have to figure out this time zone, because at the time I'm not going to do that. So, and that, I like that flexibility, and Derby made it to the playoff final. So they said, okay, I'm going back to England to watch the final.
You went to watch him at Leeds, did you?
No, not Leeds. I went to
the final.
Wembley, and they got beat by Villa. That was a waste of $2,000.
Yeah. But again, just what you touched on there, Tim, as well. You said about, your time in sales. And I had an instance where I was working on a project with a national company, and they turned around and offered me the operations director's job. Mm-hmm. And for a split second, I nearly said yes. Mm. And then I went, no. And the chief exec said, well, what do you mean? I went, no. I know where I want to be. I know what I like. I live on the edge of the Howardian Hills in North Yorkshire. I don't want to be in that little chef lodge down in London.
I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah. And because I've been there, within 3 months, I will be fed up and I'll be no use to anybody, family or you.
Last job I ever took in sales was working for a company called Kroner. They were a huge HR outsourcing part of the Walters Career Group. And I went down for an interview in a place just outside Leicester. And I'm walking around and I was thinking, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right at all. It's just all chrome and glass, and And at the end, they wanted me to go and meet the managing director. And I was like, okay, well, as a point of courtesy, I'll just not walk out. So I went to meet him, and he came in and said, sat down. I said, anyway, Tim, he said, I'm not sure if they've told you yet, but we'd be offering you a £15,000 golden hello. I'm like, okay, where do I sign? I swear to God, this is true. Steve, I drove back home. I went to Motorpoint in Derby and ordered a BMW. Phoned my wife and said, I've got the job and I've got a BMW. I'll be home in half an hour. And so I got this BMW. It was only one series. And the money was great. The money was fantastic. But within three months, Steve, I couldn't care less about the car. I was just miserable doing the same old stuff and the corporate stuff and,
Yeah. So it comes back down to our values again, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And really, and that self-awareness. But working, I want to stress to people to actually go and get this book, Tim, because, well, it's a great read. It's a fun read, I must admit. I mean, some of the stuff you put in there just has me in stitches. The way, the way you word it, it's not one of these. How can I put this? Sometimes you pick a book up and it's really scientific and droll. This is not. This is a fun read. You make it fun. You make it interesting. So, really want to people get. I've been not working with them, but I know lots of business coaches in this part of the world. To be honest, need to get hold of this book.
Yeah, and that's part. And by the way, and thank you for that. I appreciate it. I mean, the book, and also it's fairly short. It's about 35,000 words, which is short for a book. Because I'm sick of reading books with loads of padding, just putting stuff in to get to a word count and what have you. But yeah, I mean, the book, this version of the book really is aimed at, I want to get it to people in the workplace, because I can remember a manager of mine, still a good friend of mine now, and I'm going back 17, 18 years. And the first thing he ever said to me, he invited me into his office. He was new in the job. The first thing he said to me, Steve, was, how do you like to be managed? And I thought he was having a laugh. You know, I'm like, okay, yeah, how do I like to be managed? But he was serious. And even though he didn't call them values, that's how he worked. And it was Yellow Pages at the time, Steve. And we were working in Chesterfield, Mansfield, but we broke every record ever at Yellow Pages. They had to change the commission scheme nationally because of what we did. Like we earned, and it's ridiculous. There's something called Accelerator where we were earning 50% of every sale, and we all had huge bonuses. But that was because we loved the guy so much, and we were doing, you know, we were a team, and I think in management that's so lacking. You know, he stands out head and shoulders above any other manager I've ever had.
Yeah,
that kind of skill, and we don't see that very often. And managers should be leaders. Not just leading them and understanding what makes them tick and reacting differently to different people, because you can't. Not everybody's motivated by the big bonus or by the
not at all. I remember managing the team, and you know, we had guys with a high friendship need, a high recognition need,
right?
And if you put this incentive on that they'd win a pot full of money, didn't turn them on.
Yeah, it didn't. I was never money motivated. No. I would flip when I got close to the end of a campaign and suddenly I'd see the size of the bonus that I could potentially earn. Then I'd be like whirling dervish, going to close this. But for the most part, it would be, to me, it was like, I just don't want anybody, I don't want to be near the bottom of the sales table, which, you know, the net result's the same. If you know where near the bottom, you're moving towards the top. But it was more that I don't want the hassle of that than it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's so much for people to understand around that. And you just, as you were talking there, I was sat enjoying the coffee one day. I was down in London, unfortunately, enjoying this coffee. And there's a manager doing an appraisal in public in this coffee lounge. And he said to the guy, so how do you think you're doing? And the guy said, well, I think I'm doing all right. And the manager went, well, I don't. This is what his words, Tim. You are causing me a problem with my boss. And I felt like interjecting and saying, should we just rewind this?
Yeah.
And start all over again? What a difference to the guy you're talking about at Yellow Pages.
Exactly. Yeah, he was like, to him, we were a team and we were solution focused, not problem focused. You've got to focus on, you know, I'm dead against coaches using the why word, why this, why that, because it puts people on the defensive and you ask them to explain themselves. Instead, it should be saying things like, what can we do different moving forward? Or how can I help you manage that better or whatever? And it's not even difficult, Steve. It's just not rocket science to do this stuff, but it seems, I think a lot of companies make the mistake of, and I've seen this in the sales industry a lot, of because somebody was a good salesperson thinking they make a good manager.
Yeah.
When often what you often were doing was getting yourself a poor manager and losing a good salesperson.
Yes.
You couldn't transfer those skills, and that was a common thing. It's like making your best customer of a bar, your barman. You know, just and you'll be drinking the profit.
Well, look, Tim, let's get this book out there to people. Right, let's spread the word. We will do via the podcast and via social media again. And if people want to find out more about you, they can order the book from the website or from Amazon, I guess.
No, it's just on. I'm just doing Amazon. I've just done Amazon.
Okay.
It's on Amazon.co.uk and .com as well. In fact, it's on most of them pretty much.
Okay,
so that's the best place to get it.
Go and get that. But for all these articles that you've got some great stuff on your website.
Well, I've got two websites. So the older one that I'm kind of moving away from is a daringadventure.com. That's where my self-development. The new one, coach2lifecoach.com, that's really more aimed at other coaches. So it's,
okay. And if they want to get in touch with you, they can do it through that.
Indeed.
Cool. Look, thank you for talking to me today.
You're welcome, mate. Thank you.
Been absolutely awesome. That's awesome. Is there anything else you want to cover, Tim?
I mean, yes, there is, because you asked Michael Heppel what book he was reading.
Oh, of course, yes.
And he didn't say my book, and I'm like, right, well, I'm not going to say one of yours, Heppel.
Right, okay, well, let's just do that. Let's just do that a bit. So Tim, before we finish today, then, I always like to ask my guests, what book are they reading at the moment?
Okay, well, I've just finished one, actually, yesterday, and it's a book I've read before, and I went back to it. It's Seth Godin's All Marketers Are Liars, which I love. All Seth Godin's stuff is a marketer with ethics, so I've got a lot of respect for him.
All Marketing Are Liars, I like it. Right,
Liars, yeah.
And Yeah, and go on, I'm going to share this then. We've got a mutual friend.
Who's that?
Mr. Michael Heppel.
Oh, Michael Heppel, yeah.
And when I asked Michael what books are you reading, he actually threw me actually when he came.
I know, he said Harry Potter. I listened to it.
Yeah, when he came out with Harry Potter.
I'm like, oh dear, I'm going to have to troll him on Twitter because of this.
Yeah, he didn't even pick the Clarity Method, did he?
No, I was gutted. I've held on till the end.
We'll have him.
Yeah, we will.
We'll have him. Look, thanks for joining me today. It's been a pleasure, mate.
Cheers, mate. Wow.
Have a good time in Florida.
Thanks.
Okay. A big thank you for taking the time out to listen to Podcasts for Business. Podcasts for Business, all about helping businesses share knowledge, expertise, details of events, workshops and seminars. If you'd like to get in touch, you'd like to feature your business or let me know about an event, all you need to do is simply email steve@stevetwynham.com. Also check out podcastforbusiness.co.uk. Podcast for Business is produced and presented by Steve Twynham. Copyright applies.
Like to share news about your business, event, seminar or workshop? Simply email steve@stevetwynham.com.